All right. Hi, everyone. We're just waiting for a couple people to filter in. Right. We are recording, so we're good to go. All right. So hi, everyone. Welcome. It is 4:31, so we want to kick this off and get started. Welcome to Liberal Arts Career Week. Today is day one, so very exciting, where we have a lot of different events and programs going on this week to help you with your career development. So Sharon, if you wouldn't mind just going to the next slide. So today we talked this morning a little bit earlier in the day about what I can do with the psychology major. So what we're going to talk about now is what can I do with a language major? And we have our very own Sharon Nichols, our Global Experiences Coordinator in the Career Enrichment Network. Who is going to be talking about this topic. So before we get started, I just want to give everybody a reminder that this presentation is going to be recorded and posted on our YouTube channel later on. So if you have to head out early, know that you can catch the rest on there. Also to remind you all that this is a space where you can ask as many or as little questions as you would like. Sharon is our resident expert, so she is going to be able to answer a lot of your questions today. So please feel free as Sharon goes along within her presentation to pop it in the question and answer or in the webinar chat, whichever is available to you, and I will be monitoring that throughout. So with that, Sharon, I will let you take it away.
Okay, thank you so much, Lauren. So hello everyone. As Lauren said, my name is Sharon Nichols and I'm the Global Experience Coordinator here with the Career Enrichment Network. I'm also a career coach here. We're going to talk about what can I do with a language major, and I'm really excited about this topic in particular because one of my majors as an undergrad was indeed Spanish. So this is near and dear to my heart. So I'm excited to get to chat with you today. So I'm just going to give a quick overview of what we're going to talk about. So first, we're going to chat about what you're gaining from your language major. Then we're going to go through some different career directions that are available to you. We'll break down about 6 of them. I'll give alumni examples after that. Then we'll take stock, see where you are, where you've been, and kind of just breathe, reflect a little bit. And then I'll give you some resources to move forward in your career exploration journey. So before we dive in, I was just wondering if you could put in the chat what your major is. I would love to know all the languages that are available and represented here today. So if you want to put your major as well as your class here, I'd love to see what you're studying.
And there we go. Okay.
Okay, awesome. Italian and Global International Studies, that's awesome. Linguistics, Chinese, French, German and Russian. Oh my gosh, such variety. I'm loving it. Linguistics, Spanish, wonderful. Okay, that's great. How exciting. Okay, well, thank you so much for joining today. I'm excited to chat with you about your career options. So let's keep moving forward. So first of all, I want to talk about what are you gaining from your language major. So of course, we have the obvious, right? We have this knowledge of another language. This means right away that there are more opportunities available to you, right? So you have a wider population of people you can work with and clients you can have, or places you can live and work. Now, in addition to knowing another language, I want to point out the other skills you're gaining from this major. So you'll see with these blocks here, these are compiled by NACE, which is the National Association of Colleges and Employers. And this association actually gathers information on what employers are looking for in their recent graduates that they're wanting to hire. So these are the main skills they're looking for. So I want to highlight a few and see how they relate to your major. So first of all, communication skills, right? We see written and verbal represented up here in these blocks. And this one is pretty straightforward, right? You can communicate clearly and effectively. That's what you're learning to do in this major. It's part of the very heart and purpose of what language is. So you're learning to write, choose your words carefully, articulate opinions, simplify where needed, address breakdowns in communication. That is a fantastic skill you have gained from this major and are gaining. Another one is problem solving. So let's see, have you ever been in a conversation in the language that you're learning and you don't know the vocab word that you're thinking of? You can't look it up. You're trying to tell someone you love broccoli, you have no idea what the word for broccoli is. So what do? What you do, right, typically is you talk around it, right? You describe it. You use maybe nonverbal cues, hand motions. Maybe you don't know the word for broccoli, but you know how to say it's a vegetable that looks like a tree, and you'll get somewhere, right? Problem solved. So with learning a language, you really learn how to think on your feet and problem solve, and that utilizes creativity as well, which are all awesome skills. And I think this is really unique to language learners. Right from the beginning, you realize you're simply not going to know the answer all the time, right? But you have to work around it. And this is so applicable to any job you have. You simply won't always know everything, right? Especially when a new situation arises, but you know how to think about what different avenues can you take to find the answer or the solution. So that's really impressive and something that you're developing every day. Another thing, like when you have these breakdowns in communication, there's teamwork, right? You're listening, you're working collaboratively to understand. There's also the detail-oriented skill that you're gaining. So think about the complexity of the different grammatical systems you are learning. Think about the accent marks and field days and how if you forget them or don't use them, that changes the meaning of the word entirely, right? So the little things can make a big difference, and you have an eye for that. Another one is flexibility and adaptability. So when you're learning about different cultures and getting used to reading a new alphabet, you are chiseling that mental flexibility, right? To see a different way of constructing the world. So this can help you work cross-culturally or just to see other perspectives among your colleagues, considering others' ideas and help find a middle point. Another one I want to highlight is interpersonal skills. So empathy, for example, as you're thinking through different viewpoints and ways of understanding. You understand cultural nuances or have a refined eye to look out for them. So you're asking those questions, thinking critically. These are all really wonderful skills you're gaining. So I want you to keep these in mind as we dive into some career options available for you, okay? So moving on to this slide. Okay, so as we talk through some of these career directions, the heart of where a lot of the skills that we just talked about kind of boils down to and where it all comes together is sort of communication, culture, and connection. I see that as sort of the common thread. And so notably, there's a lot of flexibility with this degree. So maybe you want to be directly in the language field, right? Maybe in interpretation or teaching the language, or maybe somewhat indirectly, you want to be in another field, but utilizing your language background in some way. So there are lots of different options to go through, but I do want to acknowledge there's that direct and indirect. So here are some 6 overarching directions. One is interpretation and translation, another education and service, travel and tourism, arts, media, entertainment, industry and commerce, and government, and we'll have a slide for each one. And as you consider different options, ask yourself what drew you to languages and how can these options play on your strengths and your interests. Okay, so first one, interpretation and translation. So in the theme of communication, culture, and connection, you can kind of frame this potential direction with the question of who and how do you want to help, right? So for translation, now translation is focused on text, right? So proofreading, subtitling, editing, really translating text one language to another. And that can be literary, medical, legal, technical. It could be localization. So that's a step beyond translating to like equivalent text and really incorporating cultural nuance for different audiences. You might be interested in machine translation. So that's focusing more on artificial intelligence processing translation. And then there's interpretation. So this is more focused rather than text. It's on the spoken word, right? So maybe you're interpreting live or pre-recorded or maybe doing dubbing. So One thing to note is you can get certified for translation for career advancement if you want. There's a general sort of certification. You don't necessarily need it. What you do need it for sure, is an area of specialization like medical or legal. They will have their own certifications. So it's something to keep in mind. Now, as far as employers, you could do either of these things in-house in sort of a sector-specific area in a company. They might have a 9-to-5 job doing that. So you'll see that maybe in education or business, government, healthcare, international organizations or nonprofits, court, publishers, libraries. But also, I want to highlight that freelance can be a really popular option here. So this is when you do independent contracting with many different clients. It's a lot more flexible. Okay, so that's the first one. Moving on to the second. Okay, sorry, sip of water. Okay, so education and service. For this one, the question you want to ask yourself is, who do you want to impact, right? So again, these could be in the direct language field, or it could be more indirect where you're using your language, maybe speaking it every day. So we have here, for example, teaching. That could be K through 12 where you'd need a certification, could be adult education, maybe PhD in the research track. Maybe you're interested in linguistics. That could be research related to that, maybe speech therapy, maybe lexicography where you're writing definitions for dictionaries. Maybe you're interested in educational administration. That could be like at a university doing student affairs, working in international house or cultural center on campus, international student services, study abroad programs. And actually, this is where I fall and how I use my language major. So as the Global Experiences Coordinator, I'm coordinating study abroad programs every day. So I am talking to, I took stock, and this semester I'm talking to people from 4 different continents just every day. And it's really exciting. So I love to get to use those cross-cultural skills in my day-to-day job. Moving down the line, maybe you are interested in using your language every day in civil service, social work, mission work, nonprofit or public interest law, healthcare. And then the employers are schools, colleges, professional language institutes, foreign study exchange programs, libraries, religious and volunteer organizations, international organizations or nonprofits, maybe with a global focus. So thinking maybe Human Rights Watch, International Rescue Committee, Amnesty International, focused on like human aid, right? And then of course, there's law enforcement agencies, social services agencies, hospitals as well. So with this, yep, I would think about who do you want to impact, who do you want to work with, who do you want to help? Moving on to travel and tourism. The question here would be, how do you want to facilitate cross-cultural connection? Because with this, the areas you will see are, for example, hospitality, right? So under that umbrella is hotel management, airline services. It could also fold into teaching as well. So if you want to be a tour guide, for example, as you share your insights about your city or cultural site, that's an option for you. So you'll be working with people from all over the world every day, and it'd be critical to have that understanding of languages and cultural nuances. So whether that's with a tour and excursion company, travel agency, cruise lines, transportation agencies, there are lots of options out there where you would be very needed. Next one would be arts, media, and entertainment. So thinking, who do you want to reach and how? So we have advertising and marketing, public relations here as some areas, thinking about how is this message landing with this population of people? How do we need to adjust it? How can we convey it? That is something a language major would be very good at. Journalism and broadcasting or writing, you being plugged into different areas of the world with your language and understanding different perspectives, you may have a passion about certain issues and have the communication skills to express it. So this could be an area of interest for you. Maybe you're focused more on the arts and how to convey a message and pass down a story. So maybe performing or museum work would be a good fit for you. So you could indeed work at a museum, for news agencies, book publishers, TV or radio networks, internet media companies, or advertising firms. So we have a couple more still. So industry and commerce. Now, this is pretty broad, but basically you have a place in business, right? Whether it's international or otherwise, the skills you have in communication, culture, and connection will help with the customer experience, smoothing that partner experience, and the clients you can reach, the number of clients you can reach. So some different areas might be banking, finance, sales, customer service, manufacturing, logistics, consulting, importing and exporting in the trade industry, advertising and marketing again pops up, human resources, that's very people focused. So supporting them, training them, developing policies to help as you take the time to understand, right? And then employers could be, again, banks and financial institutions, maybe international companies. So could be foreign firms operating in the US, like maybe Toyota, could be US firms operating in foreign countries. So I know Google has a Tokyo office. Could do work with manufacturers, retail stores, consulting agencies, telecommunications, computer and software firms or tech, professional associations, maybe law firms. The question I would ask is, what type of industry do I want to be a part of? What am I interested in? What do I want to support? What services do I want to connect people to? And then the last big area we'll talk about is government. So thinking about what are ways I can serve others. And there are so many cool different directions you can go with this one. Language analysis, linguistics, diplomacy, civil service, foreign service, working in immigration or naturalization, customs, intelligence, security and protection, law enforcement. And this can be at the federal level with the FBI, could be with the state level, could be local. You could, for example, work with US citizenship and immigration services, US customers and border control, or customs and border control. Or you could work with a volunteer-focused organization that partners with the government. So that's Peace Corps, Vista, AmeriCorps, or even maybe the United Nations, working intergovernmentally. So this type of job would definitely utilize skills like attention to detail, adaptability, understanding of world issues, teamwork, certainly, and then literally using your language, like considering the intelligence unit, for example, could be very cool. So what I'll do now is take you through a couple alumni examples so you can kind of see some of these hypotheticals in action. So let's see what we have. I pulled a couple examples that really stuck out to me. So the first two are in the marketing sort of field. So human and consumer insights specialist and a marketing manager. They're thinking about the best ways to reach people that they're trying to reach. They're thinking about different perspectives, cultural sensitivity. They have that eye for nuance. We have a communications coordinator, really putting to use those written and verbal skills in communication. We have so many different professors and teachers, and some of them are doing research. We have someone working in management at Disney's Resort and Spa. So again, working with tourists from all over the world every day. I wanted to pull Kevin Wolfhurst as an example. He's a 1987 grad. He was a Russian major. He's super cool. He is a supervisory intelligence analyst at the FBI. So that's pretty neat as far as career directions to go. We also have someone who is a Spanish-English interpreter for a healthcare organization. He's specifically working with children with autism. We also have a director of international student and scholar services at a university. We have a volunteer coordinator at a women's shelter, someone working at AmeriCorps. They are really focusing in on that empathy piece, that human connection. And then we have a global head of economic analysis and forecasting, so really in the international business sector. I would like to highlight also Catherine. She is a 2018 graduate. She is wonderful. She was a Japanese and comparative literature major, and she right now is living in Japan, and she's an instructional support manager at an English conversation school, and she's also a manga translator working in freelance. So I pulled these examples, some of them from our alumni profile page, as well with the College of the Liberal Arts, as well as from LinkedIn. Penn State has a page of its own on LinkedIn with an alumni tab, and that's a great way to kind of explore what alumni are doing and what options are out there for you. So for example, you could even type in like Italian, for example, to see who studied what I'm studying, what are they doing now, and you can see how they got there. So that's a great resource for you. Lion Link, same deal or similar deal. You can actually connect with alumni who are doing what you're interested in. So that was a lot. Yep, that was a lot of information. And so as we consider the options out there, you're probably wondering, like, how do I even begin to make this decision? Like, what's next, right? So take a minute to pause and just breathe, because I will take you through some resources. But first, I want to reflect on you, right? I want to think, I like these questions basically, and I want you to frame your exploration starting with some of these questions first. So the first one is, what are my values? As you're thinking about what you want to do, what do you want to see reflected in your work every day? Ask yourself, what lifestyle do I want? Do I want that 9 to 5 or something maybe more flexible with freelance? What do I want my work-life balance to look like? Do I want to be near family or am I okay being across the world from them? What work environment am I looking for? Would I be excited being in the hustle and bustle of a hospital if I'm doing interpretation there? Or am I looking for something more low key? Consider management supervisors, how you would work best with your supervisors. Consider finances as well. That's of course important. I think this lifestyle question is really critical because when you're building a career, you're also working on building a life. So please don't put what you need for your life on the back burner. So for example, you don't have to work 80-hour weeks unless you want to. Look into what that career means, because I think the question ultimately is, what career fits into the life you want? So I really want you to be thinking about that. Another question is, how are my skills congruent with my interests? So what am I good at? How does that relate to what I like? And then what do I need to do to develop myself further? And as you start to gain more insight on possible career paths, questions to ask are, what are gaps in my experience? What do I need to do to get the job I want? I think a great place to start with any career exploration is something you can actually do just today. And that is to sort of take stock of where you are and where you have been. So thinking about, things you've done in the past or are doing now, what have you learned from them? So we've talked a lot about your education, right? Your coursework. And so you can be thinking about, what projects have you done that really stick out to you and what skills have you gained from them? So maybe you're really interested in grammar and you want to go the linguistics route. That's a possibility. But further than just your classwork, what skills and insights have you gained from not only your major, but also your experiences outside the classroom? These all help you explore your career options and pave a way forward. So outside the classroom, experiential learning hones transferable skills, allows you to put your skills and interests into action to see what works for you and what really doesn't in the real world. So that's why these experiences are so valuable. So what have you been involved in that's resonated with you? Or what can you be involved in as you consider where you want to go? So you could consider doing some volunteer work, maybe gaining experience with certain issues and communities that you really care about. Maybe you want to work with immigrants or refugees with St. Joan of Arc. I know that's a local volunteer organization in State College. Maybe you want to do an internship. You can put what you've learned into a practical setting, gain professional skills, start networking, maybe see what you don't want to do. That's incredibly valuable. Your part-time job can give you great professional and transferable skills as well. Or maybe you want to get involved in a student organization or leadership role. Leadership skills, as you may have noticed from one of the first slides where we showed the different skills that NACE compiled. Leadership skills are one of the things that employers are really looking for. So maybe you want to get involved in something on campus. I know we have something called World in Conversation that could be really interesting, that they facilitate small groups and host dialogues about different issues. That could be really something worth looking into. Okay. So I also see here education abroad, and that one gets its own slide because for language majors, I really want to highlight this opportunity for you because it's so, so wonderful. If you're hoping to work abroad, for example, gaining in-country experience is a great way to get your foot in the door. It adds context to your resume, it helps you to build an international network, maybe to find a job in the future. But if you're not hoping to work abroad, I still highly recommend studying abroad for language immersion and to build direct and transferable skills and experiences. So ways to do that could be if you have a secondary major, for example, you could take classes abroad to see your discipline from a different perspective, or you could get involved. Check out volunteer experiences abroad. Join the student organizations and clubs there, do a homestay, do an internship to see what work is like in a different country. From all of this, you are honing your skills in language ability, tolerance for ambiguous situations, increased confidence and independence, awareness of world politics, economics, and social issues, and the list really does go on. So this is such a fantastic opportunity. And one thing I will say for career exploration, it can be really helpful as well. I know for my personal experience, this honestly changed everything for me when I went abroad as an undergrad. So I was not only a Spanish major, but also a physical therapy major, which was not at all congruent with my interests. But being outside of my daily routine, really, this is the first time that I was, it allowed me to get involved while abroad and dive into different opportunities and just understand myself and my values in a different context entirely. So I could reflect and reevaluate what I wanted and what I really didn't want. And that's experiential learning for you. So please take advantage of these opportunities out there. There are so many benefits, particularly at Penn State. We have 300 plus programs, 50 plus countries. There are 6 different program types. ea.psu.edu is the education abroad portal, and you can do a program search there to see what is available. The different program types could be a semester-long experience, an academic year, could be in the summer for the whole semester, or maybe with a Penn State faculty member leading a program, teaching courses for 3 to 8 weeks. Could do an international internship. And also we have short-term education abroad experiences as well, which we call embedded courses. So basically that means taking a course at Penn State, maybe a 3-credit course, and then there's a travel component that is attached to it, maybe over spring break, where you would go with your class and your professor. So that is a great way to get international experience if it doesn't fit into your academic plan. Please do reach out to an education abroad advisor as well as your academic advisor to figure out how these experiences can work for you. And we do have a lot of different funding opportunities as well. So I put the link right here to kind of a whole database that Penn State Global has of our funding opportunities. So it shows Penn State specific scholarships. You can also find ones in your academic department. Our college here, the College of the Liberal Arts, has liberal arts enrichment funds that go towards study abroad experiences. You can reach out to the Student Engagement Network, University Fellowships Office. There are also external scholarships, and these are all represented in this link here. So I also want to mention, if you can't study abroad while you're an undergrad, there may be other opportunities outside of Penn State after graduation to still get international experience. Maybe you're interested in teaching. So you could do the JET program, Japanese exchange teaching, where you're teaching English in Japan, maybe doing EPIC, that's an English program in Korea, LACW, same deal in Spain, teaching assistant program in France. And then there's the Fulbright scholarship, which is something after you graduate, you could either do teaching English or research if you have a specific topic that would be very beneficial to research while abroad. So lots of opportunities out there, and I'm happy to chat through any of them with you. So this will be kind of our last slide. As far as additional resources for your career exploration, what I would love to recommend is that you meet with a career coach. We definitely want to meet with you. We definitely want to talk to you and just hear what you're interested in and kind of figure it out together from there. But we have so many amazing resources here at Penn State, like Line Careers is a great place to start. It has a job internship search function and has all our career events listed. Going Global is fantastic. It has career guides. This is a website that has career guides for countries, global cities, US cities, and those give insights on job search resources, top companies, advice on resumes, cover letters, interviews, work permits, professional networking, and cultural advice, all of that like country specific. So that's incredible. It also has its own job board for jobs and internships around the world, and even an H-1B plus database, so application listings for American employers seeking to hire international talent. The Occupational Outlook Handbook and ONET Online are great as well if you have a few particular jobs you're really interested in. These are a great way to dig even further into those careers because these resources have job profiles. So you can see what the job does, what the education is, what education level is needed, or certifications, that sort of thing is required. You can see the pay, the work environment, so that can be very helpful. If you have no idea what you want to do, it may be helpful to take a career assessment. We have these here with the Career Enrichment Network. One of them is the Strong Interest Inventory. It asks you a bunch of questions and captures things that you're drawn to and gives you a report at the end of the careers that are related to it. So that can really help to suggest a direction for you, or at least a direction to explore. Another one is to connect with alumni. We do have an alumni mentorship program, so we can hand select a mentor for you in your field of interest and they will walk you through topics like career development and networking. And then the Global Careers Institute is a really cool thing taking place at Penn State. So applications have already passed for this year. It'll be taking place in March. But for next year, this is something to keep in mind. It's a 1.5-day conference that prepares students for success in a globalized sort of world of work. So you're engaging with alumni, and it's for domestic and international students, focuses on careers in the US as well as outside of it. And the topics are finding employers to gain visa sponsorship, landing government or NGO jobs, entering the workforce, for example, in Europe, and it touches on diversity and inclusion in a multicultural workplace as well. So there are lots of really cool avenues to explore. So please do meet with a career coach, and we're happy to chat through these resources with you. And that is where my presentation comes to a close. So I hope that was helpful, and I am very happy to chat with you or answer any questions I can. So please feel free to ask away in the chat.
Thank you so much, Sharon. I'll give everyone just a minute or two to type their questions if they have any. But while they're typing, I have a quick question for you that when I was listening came up for me. So I know that you really focus this in on communication, culture, and connection, which I absolutely love as a core value. So I'm wondering how did you personally choose education and service as a branch off of that within your own career path?
Yeah, as far as me choosing that, it was the experiential learning piece that ultimately sealed the deal for me, because I saw how much of an impact it made on me, like literally completely changed my entire life direction, which sounds so dramatic, but it's true. I really thought I was going to be a physical therapist, but it took studying abroad to realize I absolutely didn't want that, and I didn't have anything else that I was involved in didn't quite give me that insight as this educational experience did. So I knew I wanted to help students kind of get to experience these different things and, as many opportunities on campus and beyond as possible.
That's awesome. I love that so much. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I don't see any questions that have come in. So, oh, here we go. I have one. So it says, I'm majoring in Russian and German. After graduation, I plan to apply for the Fulbright scholarship and teach English, possibly in Central Asia. Besides that, do you have any suggestions for teaching career paths where I can put either German or Russian to good use?
Yeah, so as far as teaching, I would be curious let's see. So you could go, maybe the teacher route with K through 12, adult education, maybe PhD, working as a professor. Maybe ESL could be something you're interested in. You could maybe get your certification in, let's see, TEFL or TESOL. So that could be a possibility. So actually working with people maybe who directly speak German or Russian and teaching them English. Maybe something in like immigration or refugees, working with refugees. Like I know that is an area of need as far as just having people who speak the main language of, the refugees coming in. They don't know English sometimes and they really need that support. So that could be something worth diving into. I could see that being a really good use of your skills.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Sharon. So for the student who asked that question, this is where I definitely recommend making an appointment with Sharon or one of the other career coaches in our office to get some of those direct links. Sharon is obviously our resident expert, like just pulling all of that from the top of her head, which is amazing. So for the student who asked this question, I definitely recommend making that appointment on Nittany Lion Careers as well, just as a follow-up. I think that would be really helpful too. Awesome. Great question. I love it. Any other questions for Sharon? All right, I don't see any. So I want to say thank you, Sharon, so much for your time today and putting together this incredible presentation. I know I learned a lot because I did not study a language when I was in college. So this was really, really helpful for me to understand as well. Like I said, for everyone here, please make sure to make an appointment with us. We would love to see you. I'm sure Sharon would love to see you on her calendar, especially all of those who are majoring in the languages and thinking about how to connect them to the communication, culture, and connection that Sharon talked about today. Just to let you all know, we have a couple of other events going on this week for Liberal Arts Career Week. Tomorrow we have our Economics Alumni Panel and English and Communication Arts and Sciences Alumni Panel. And on Instagram, we're going to be featuring how to connect and how to build your professional brand on LinkedIn. Then on Wednesday, we have a bunch of stuff going on. We have Ask a Career Coach in the Chaikin Center in 139 Sparks Building. We have Interviewing 101 being presented by one of our recruiters that we work pretty closely with. Drop-in or pop-in career support with our career coaches, including Sharon and myself from 1 to 4. And then from 4 to 5, we have an in-person session on taking or writing public, how to leverage writing for your career development, which is pretty amazing. And then on Instagram, we have marketing your liberal arts degree. And then on Thursday, we have what can I do with a political science or international politics major, and then how to get a job with the federal government. So I know that government work was one of the things that Sharon talked about today. So that is going to be presented by one of our amazing alumni who actually works for the General Services Administration and does hiring for the federal government, which is pretty cool. And then on Instagram, we are going to have different reels on deciding on law school. And then last but not least, on Friday, we have, another session for asking a career coach. Sharon will be there for the first hour from 10 to 11, I believe, or maybe 11 to noon. I can't remember which one, 11 to noon. And then we have careers and research with a bachelor's degree, and then a session for graduate students on translating PhD training from CV to resume, and all day on Instagram talking about graduate schools. And then this is just to save the date. Up next, so one of our big things happening in February is our virtual recruiting week from February 6th to 10th, where you can meet one-on-one with a recruiter to explore internships and full-time positions. It's all over Zoom, no lines, you sign up for a time slot. All of this information will be available on our YouTube page by the end of the week, which is very exciting. And if anybody has any questions, you can always make an appointment with either Sharon, myself, or another career coach in our office. So All right. I think that that's it for today. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week and let us know if you need anything. Thank you so much, Sharon.